Hello and welcome everyone to Master Game Design, Unreal Engine 5 Stylized Environment and Third-Person Blueprint course. In this lesson, we're going to go over how to set ourselves over with the project and how to actually make use out of a resource pack. So, once you download yourself a resource pack, you're going to get yourself a zipped file which will include the Unreal Engine project. All you gotta do is to start it off is firstly right-click and simply extract the zipped folder. Then afterwards, you're going to get yourself an uncompressed project, which now we're going to make use out of it. So for that, we're going to use Unreal Engine. And just like every Unreal Engine project, we'll need to begin with opening ourselves up with an Epic Games launcher, in which you'll need to go on to library, and then you'll see a bunch of Unreal Engine versions. It will probably show you the newest one, but just in case you don't see this version 5.2.1, just go ahead and click on this plus symbol over here and select the version from this menu like so. So just make sure it's set as 5.2, otherwise it might not work correctly in regards to this project. Anyways, once you get yourself installed and you're ready to go, just click launch like so. Open yourselves up with the project, and then you're going to need to find yourself the project you just unzipped. So for you to do that, you'll just need to click on the browse button over here like so, and we're just going to find the project that we're looking for. For that, all we gotta do is simply find the unzipped folder, then go into it and simply click on the Unreal Engine project like so. We can go ahead and click open, and you're going to launch yourself up with the project. And just like that, we got ourselves within the Unreal Engine 5 course pack project. We're going to go over the project itself, but for now though, let's familiarize ourselves with the Unreal Engine program itself. So I'm going to make sure that everyone is up to speed and run a quick video teaching you about the UI of the project and also the viewport afterwards. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. Hello and welcome everyone to Unreal Engine 5 Basics tutorial video, in which we're going to introduce ourselves to the Unreal Engine 5 software. So Unreal Engine 5 is an engine which was firstly developed as a game engine. However, these days, it's been widely used within other creative fields as well, such as architecture and film industries. But even with all this versatility and design changes to appeal to other industries, a lot of the core design for the layout has been kept as the game engines. And right now we're going to go through the set layout so it would be easier to follow along the future lessons. So first things first, we're going to start off with the upper left corner, and within it we'll find the save button, which we can use Ctrl and S to save our project. This, however, will only save the current level. And if we're making changes outside of the level itself, let's say we're having a material or an asset edited, we'd have a different window that we're working on, and we'd have to save this independently. So it would have a save button, or we can click Ctrl and S, and that would save the window that we're working on only. So basically, if we're working with different window, we need to make sure that we save that out. And then afterwards, if we're making changes for the level itself, we need to save this out afterwards. So if I were to change this, we can only have it saved by clicking Ctrl and S and saving it out. If you have made a new level, you'd be prompted up with naming it and selecting for where your location is going to be for the level. Then afterwards, we have select mode. By default, you're going to be within a select mode, which you'll be able to use to make selections for within your asset. You can also go ahead and use this to change it into landscape, foliage, mesh paint, and other types of modes, just to change up your workflow depending on what you're working on. But by default, most of the time, I'd say 80% of the time, you'd be working on a select mode. Moving on, we have quickly add the project. This button will allow you to add more assets into your project, the simple default ones that you'd normally get in within any type of rendering software. So basic lights, shapes, and such can be found here. If you want to search within it, you can click on it and search for light, for example. This way we'd be able to see all the assets with light within its name. What you need to keep in mind though is that when you click on it, you need to make sure that your mouse stays the same within this icon over here. Otherwise, if I were to, for example, drag my mouse to shapes and then search for lights, you'd notice that it only searches it within the shapes location. Whenever you're searching for an asset from within this bar, just make sure you keep the mouse stable within this icon like so. Then next up, we have an icon that if we were to click on it, we'd be able to have some options for creating blueprint classes. Blueprints work similarly to a sort of a prefab. However, for the sake of introduction to Unreal Engine 5 layout, we don't need to get into it too much. And the next one, we have a level sequence and master sequence that we can add from this button over here. This is used when we're going to be needing to set up our project to be rendered out. But again, let's move on with the rest of the layout. We have a play button. This will just start off the project, and if you have a third-person template, for example, like I do, it'll just set off your character to be played at. It'll also start up all the simulations and whatnot, so this makes it real nice to just check out your project. And when we click play, we get to be loaded in within our level, and now we get to walk around it and actually experience what it's like to be within our builded level. We can jump around, we can run around the way we want it to be, and it's actually quite nice to see what we're like within our own build level. We also have this 3 dots over here, which if we were to click on it, we have some additional settings like simulating the entire project. This will just allow you to hit play button, but without actually needing to lose control over the edit mode. Again, we don't really need to go too much into it, but basically this section over here will play and stop your project. Then after which we have platforms, but this is only for when we're breaking out our entire package as a game, and we don't really need to worry about this. So let's go ahead and move on. After which we have a settings button. This will include a sort of settings like project settings and plugins, which can also be found within this upper left corner over here. So basically this just makes sure that everything is in one place. We don't really need to go through it, as they're usually not needed for when we're creating our scene. Anyway, moving on, the outliner. Outliner will have everything that contains within your level, so it'll have all the assets within it. And right now, if I were to select any type of an asset from within this level, like this one over here, it'll right away make a selection within our outliner as well. After which, we have Details tab. Details tab will give you all types of options for your selected asset. So it'll include all the type of information that it requires to be placed within the world. So for example, firstly, we have transforms, and this will include the scale, the rotation, and location on this specific asset. We also have the type of static mesh it uses, as well as the materials. Each type of asset will have its unique type of information set within it, which can be found from Details tab. After which, if we go down to the bottom left corner, we get ourselves Content Drawer, Outlook Log, and CMD. Content Drawer is by default hidden, but if we were to click on it, we get it opened up. Now, if we click on anything else outside of the Content Drawer, by default be hiding it away. We can also open up the Content Drawer by clicking Control and Space to give us an easy access to where our files are located. So the Content Drawer is basically a file manager. You keep all your folders, all your assets for not only the level, but for the entire project of the Unreal Engine 5. We can also dock the Content Drawer by clicking on this button over here. By selecting it, we simply make sure that they're always going to be within this location. And even though we click off the Content Drawer, it is still going to be within it. Now we can easily undo this step by simply clicking on this Close Minor tab. And we can open up the Content Drawer just like we used to, like so, by clicking Control and Space. Then output logs are pretty useful for whenever we want to find out some information, if something is giving us errors. If our work is not focused on coding, we don't exactly often use this, so let's go ahead and close this down. CMD is useful every once in a while for whenever we want to make a command. Right now I'm not going to go too much into it, but we can make use out of it and do things like taking high quality screenshots or getting a different type of view within our viewport. Okay, So now we walked all the way around our window. Now we're finally gonna go ahead and talk about what's in the middle of it. By default, we're gonna get ourselves a preview. Going back to the content drawer, within it, we need to enable certain settings. By clicking on this button over here, we'd be able to view the type of different folders that we have. Usually, I recommend you to enable the show engine content and show plugin content together to get more out of our Unreal Engine 5. So after you enable it, you get yourself a folder other than a content folder which says engine. So this will have all types of presets and plugins which we can make use out of and speed up our creative process. Something to keep in mind though is that this is not part of our content. So basically this is already within the engines folder. And if we were to change any one of these folders, we'd basically be changing it for entire Unreal Engine 5. Meaning that even if you create a new project, the things that we change within it, within this section, are going to be changed throughout all the other projects as well. So that is why by default it is set to hidden to make sure that none of the content that is set by Unreal Engine 5 itself is changed in any way and messed up throughout all the projects. But we can avoid this by simply knowing that we can't change anything within the engine folder itself. And it's better to, whenever we make use out of this content folder, is by simply making a copy out of whatever is inside and then dragging it out onto our content drawer just to make sure that the file that we use is only set for the project itself. This way we can make as many changes that we want without ruining the entire Unreal Engine 5 content files. And that is going to be it for Unreal Engine, the UI introduction guide. Hope you got a lot out of it and will be quite useful to you going forwards in the future for your Unreal Engine projects. And now let's get back to the course. Alright, I hope that the video was informative. Thank you so much for watching. And now in the next lesson, we're going to continue on with familiarizing ourselves with the project, and we're going to get ourselves more in touch with the viewport itself. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll be seeing you in a